Hi everybody and welcome back to Lost Genre Reddit Stories. Quick info before we begin. In today's video we have 3 stories. The first 2 have updates and then we have a light mood booster. Now let's get started with the first one. This post is from the subreddit True of My Chest and it's by user I Hate Life 997. My mom bragged about how she kept my dad out of my life. I grew up hating him, thinking he abandoned me. First, please excuse my writing. English is not my main language. So I, 19 female, grew up with a single mom. Growing up, I was always told my father abandoned me. It happened when I was around 10 when I asked my mom about my dad and she told me straight up he abandoned me. I cried so much that day, it was not a joke. As I grew older, I hated him, even though I never met him. I thought that if he ever came back, I would scream at him, ruin him, and attack him for leaving. Then, last week, my mom and I were at her friend's house. I went along because I'm friends with her friend's daughter. I came downstairs and heard my mom say my name. She revealed my dad's name and said, "It's easy to keep a father out of a kid's life, like I did with OP's father after I found out that he cheated on me." She was also talking about how pathetic he looked when he pleaded with her to stay in my life. She also added how she used his whole drug addiction against him in court. Now, from how I understand, he had gotten sober before I was born. I made contact with my bio dad as soon as we got home. The next morning, I got a reply. He asked for my number so we can talk. The first thing my dad did when he called me was apologize. He told me it was all his fault. After talking to him for a while, I told him I'd love to have a relationship with him. He lives not far from our city, a 2-hour drive. Then I called my mom. She was at work so we couldn't talk. I ended up sending her a text telling her about what I heard her say and that I'll be cutting off contact with her for a while, probably forever. It's not an easy situation to give a commentary on, but I'm gonna give it my best shot. There's a lot of things wrong with everything that's going on. Cheating, parental alienation, lying, all that stuff, so I think we need to go at it one by one. You all know my stance on cheating. I don't like cheating, I dislike cheaters. However, being cheated on is no excuse for alienating a parent from their child. Sure, again, cheaters suck, but that doesn't mean they're horrible parents, just horrible partners. Now, parental alienation. The way I understand it is that parental alienation is not in the benefit of the child. It's basically one parent putting horrible ideas in the mind of the child regarding the other parent. It's very different when CPS or the court determines that a parent is not fit to parent. That is not parental alienation, that is keeping the child safe. So even though in this case OP's dad did cheat on the mom, that didn't give her the right to lie to OP regarding her dad, and that's where the lying comes in, which of course is never justified. Now OP's post was very short, so I'm sure there's a lot of information that's missing here that hopefully we'll get to see in additional context or in the update, at least to better understand OP's decision-making process. So what do you guys think about this whole situation so far? Would you have done the same thing as OP? Let me know in the comment section, and now let's move on to the community comments to see what they had to say. Mox Omega says, "I hate parents that keep the kids away from the other parent just to spite them. Unless the other parent is a drug dealer or works for the cartels or crap like that, no excuse for it. My ex-wife did that to her first husband, kept the 2 kids from him, and he would beg her to see them, but nope. To spite him. She kept them from him and she would tell the kids, 'Oh, your father is out having fun with his new wife and has no time for y'all,' which was BS. It wasn't until a few years after we divorced when I ran into him at a restaurant downtown and I told him I hated how she did that to him and it was unfair and cruel because he missed them growing up. Last I heard, he and the 2 kids reconciled and they apologized for hating him since they never knew the truth." Tim Likes Pie says, "What the mother did always seems to backfire. The parent that does this is usually hurting the child the most. Luckily, after my parents went through a very bitter divorce, they both decided to be very adult-like. My dad paid his child support and did not fight my mom on anything. My mom didn't do anything crazy and let my dad see us whenever he wanted. They never spoke bad about each other. My dad moved out of state, then we moved to a different state, and they just kept working together. Later in life, they got along at weddings and important events. They came together for holidays. It just made our lives so much easier." Whiskey Girl 81 says, "I'm a mom and wife, and I'm also a child of divorced parents. But unlike you, I was old enough to see what my vindictive mother was doing, just not old enough to make the decision to stop it. But my mother basically did the same. She forced my brother and me to tell our dad we didn't want anything to do with him anymore, and he gave up his parental rights for her new husband to adopt us. After I moved out of her house, I got in contact with my father again. I swore I would never do something like that to my child. It really affects the child poorly. Parents like that do not deserve to have kids if you ask me. Using a child as a weapon is wrong. 99% of the time the child grows up and finds out the truth, and that parent then loses the child anyways, because the child gets pissed off and resents them. But at the time, those parents don't care about future consequences. They just want to win the battle at the moment and hurt the other parent. I am glad you were able to find out the truth and get in contact with your dad. Good luck with a great relationship with him. I too would have done the same and cut contact with my mother. Squirrel Girl VA says, OP, I know Reddit is quick to say lawyer up, but this is a situation where one would be a good idea. You need to make sure that you protect your assets as well as make sure that your mom hasn't been trying to pull shady stuff without your knowledge and consent. For example, either forging your signature or getting you to sign something under the guise of it being something else. OP's edit. So, I did not mention this about the house in my post. I inherited my uncle's house after he died, and that is when my mom started acting weird. She believed that the house belonged to her and fought with my grandfather over it, but he put his foot down and told her it was my house. Secondly, when I turned 18 and moved into the house, my mom came along. I didn't want to live with her again, but she told me she'll cut off my college fund. Well, now my grandpa told me he'll pay for my college. Also, more about my mom. When my parents split up, my grandfather told me he doesn't support her decision to keep my father out of my life, but she told him then he will never see me either. Also, my mom acts like my house belongs to her and always told me, technically it's my house and should have been given to me. And more about my dad. He quit drugs long before he met my mom and confessed to her that he was an addict. Also, I was told by my grandpa not long after telling my mom she is no longer welcome in my house that my dad loved me with all his heart and that when I was only a couple of months old, he almost made it impossible for others to hold me. Next thing is that my dad did confess to cheating. I already asked my mom to explain her side and she said yes. He did quit drugs long before he met her and he did cheat, but there was no abuse. That's about it. So far, all she wants is for me to forgive her. I did ask my dad for his side of the story, and he hasn't replied yet, but he told me he'll call me later. Alright, well the community had some pretty good insight on the situation, and we got a lot more context from OP. And I don't know about you guys, but I'm getting some heavy entitled narcissistic vibes from OP's mom, so good for her for going no contact. Anyways, how about we move on with the update to see how this story ends, but of course before that, I gotta suggest another one of my playlists like this one that only has stories with updates on them, and I'm sure you can enjoy it after this video. Now let's move on with the update. First of all, thanks so much for the support. I'm surprised my post got so much support. I cannot thank you enough. But anyway, on to the update. So, I met up with my dad at a restaurant today. He thought it would be better to talk in person. I was shocked when I saw him. He looks to be in great shape, however I could tell he was crying. When I approached him, he pulled me into a hug and apologized a few more times for not being there and that he really wants to fix it while he has a chance. We started talking and there was much more to the story than my dad just being a cheater. So here it goes. During my mom's pregnancy, she constantly put my dad down. Like, she would tell him, "You should be happy you're with me and not some unimportant bitch." Or, "You're not good enough for me, I'm just with you for the sake of our child." My dad said that he thought it was just for her pregnancy hormones, but then it got worse after I was born. Her ego was through the roof, but what really took the cake was when my mom said, "It's such a shame my daughter will probably grow up to be a failure like her father." I was taken aback by this. I asked my dad if that's the reason he cheated, and he said no, he should have just called off the wedding, but instead he cheated. He apologized a few more times and told me he loves me and that he never forgot about me, and that when I texted him for the first time, he couldn't believe it was me until he saw my profile picture. We both cried for a while until our breakfast arrived. Now on to my mom. I just want to add, my mom started threatening me after I told her she is getting evicted. But at first, it went from pathetic apologies to full-on threats. She told me she'll ruin me if I abandon her. She said she'll make sure I lose everything. Anyways, after speaking to my dad, I wanted to see if my mom will confirm it. And she did, with no shame on her face. She admitted it like it was an effing achievement, with no remorse, may I add. Then she went back to sweet talks, and when that didn't work again, she went back to threatening me. Someone told me I should see if I can forgive her and probably go no contact. After today, I doubt I want anything to do with her. I also think she's the one who told all my ex-boyfriends that they were not good enough because they all broke up with me shortly after meeting her without any explanation. I think I'll call my last ex, maybe he can tell me. Anyways, I'm done with her. My grandpa told me he'll help me with the eviction and possibly a restraining order due to the threats. I am going to visit my dad as soon as she's out of the house. Extended from OP's comments. I wish I saw her toxicity earlier. Now, I think I should go live with my grandpa for a while and take the important stuff, like all my documents, which are really important. My grandpa's girlfriend said she'll keep an eye on the house in case my mom trashes or destroys the place. My grandpa blames himself for her behavior. My mom is my grandpa's daughter, and it's sad, but I think it's in my mom's genes. My mom said my grandma was also like this, but she couldn't have influenced my mom since she died when my mom was 3 years old. Also, my mom told me that my dad tried multiple times to contact me, but she denied him any access to me. He did fight for visitation at least, but was again denied. My mom lied in court to keep him away from me, but instead she gave me trauma. And finally, my mom is no saint. She didn't cheat on my dad, but she did sleep with her best friend's husband. While her best friend and her husband were together, my mom broke up her friend's marriage. Finally, my half-brother also texted me and he said that he can't wait to meet me. His mom died when he was younger. I'm also happy to meet him. Well, OP, of course it sucks that you had to go through all of what your mom put you through, but the good thing is that now you have the full picture and you get to re-establish a relationship with your dad. So here's wishing you both all the best in the future. Take care, OP, and thank you for sharing. So now, let's move on to the next post that also has a short update, but I have to say that this next post might make you rage just a little bit because it is a very controversial topic in today's world. This post is from the subreddit Today I Effed Up, and it's by user BrewQuad. Today I effed up by taking my wedding ring off at the gym. I, a very happily married 36 male with a small herd of children, have been going to the gym in my little town since November 2022. I always go after getting the kids to bed, which generally puts me there around 8:30 p.m. The gym I go to has 2 rooms. One has cardio equipment, ellipticals, treadmills, bikes, etc. The other room has free weights and various other torture devices. My routine begins the same every time with around 9 miles on the bike, which leaves me in a state similar to that of a walrus that has just managed to pull himself onto an iceberg, very wet and breathing heavily. This process takes me up until about 8:55 p.m. I enjoy hitting the weights at this time because the gym is often, not always, empty, and it leaves me to grunt and groan in peace. Tonight, the gym was not empty when I entered the weight room. Now, I mentioned that I have been going to the gym since early November. During that time, I have gotten used to the people that do spend time in the gym past 9, and this person was new. Not a big deal, she had brought her own yoga mat. The ones in the gym are blue and red, this one was tie-dye-ish, and she had her phone set up on a stand. I assumed she was making a video. Both of these observations were made as I walked down to my trusty bench to start my bent-over rows. I grabbed my dumbbells and sat down to continue my ritual, which includes my Today I Effed Up. I always remove my wedding ring before I lift and tuck it in my right sock for safekeeping. If I try to wear it, it digs into my hand and makes things most unpleasant. So I start grunting out reps with alrighty and just nicely switched to lefty when I feel a tap on my shoulder. So I stopped what I was doing and turned to see the new girl standing behind me, sporting a menacing glare and wielding her iPhone. I popped out my earbud and asked what was up. The following conversation is as I remember it. "You're disgusting. Excuse me? You saw me in here and took off your wedding ring, planning on chatting me up? This is a little paraphrased. She swore a little too, and I wasn't taking perfect notes. I respond, "What?" And she goes, "You're gross." Okay. I proceeded to put my earbuds back in and get to work while she stormed to the other side of the gym and started packing up her stuff. I watched her head for the exit while I was resting between sets. Anyway, I'm rowing away and out of nowhere I'm blasted with a cascade of liquid which leads me to drop my dumbbell and spin around to see what's going on. There's the new girl with her recently emptied pink Yeti screaming at me. I'm assuming for being gross. It was unclear as I had my buds in still. I remove my earbuds so I can understand her and she storms away. I think the highlight of the exchange is that my gym shirt now smells like vodka. Do most people drink at the gym? Am I doing this wrong? Anyways, I'm home, showered, and explained why my shirt smells like I've had a raging party to my wife. We both had a good laugh. If I see the new girl's video on social media, I'll be sure to share it here. I don't know who she was, but it's a pretty small town, so it might pop up. Cheers! So I think we've all seen the kind of videos that I believe this girl was filming making the rounds on TikTok, and I do understand there are people in gyms that behave like creeps, following others around, trying to strike up conversations about reps or whatever, or just staring at them making them feel uncomfortable. But not everyone in the gym is a creep. I mean, in OP's case for example, he was focused on doing his reps and she had to tap him on the shoulder for him to turn around so she could get his face in the camera while she was confronting him. And then she came back around to throw her drink at him or pour her on his head or something. I'm pretty sure she was filming that too, because I get the impression that this girl wasn't at the gym to work out. She was fishing to make a video and then post it on some social media. So what do you guys think about these types of situations? Let me know in the comment section, and now let's move on to the community comments to see what they thought about this, and then we're gonna move on straight with the short update. Feeling Ad 2354 says, "People are strange. It's very common to not wear your ring to lift. I never wear mine to the gym at all because it gives me calluses and I also don't want to scratch it. You didn't F up. She did. Sorry someone was so rude to you." X Will Spikes X says, "OP, if I were you, I would report her to the gym because not only did she assault you with vodka, but she did so mid-rep. Not only could you have gotten hurt, but the fact that no one else was there means that you could have been left there for hours without help." Anis says, "If I come across this video on TikTok, I'm expecting Joey Swole to stitch it. I would probably file a complaint to gym management. You were minding your own business and she made a mess over nothing." Just Eric says, "You were clearly trying to chat her up by, checks notes, completely ignoring her and going about your business until she got all up in your face. You're not fooling anyone, pal." OP's update. So I emailed the gym owner last night at the request of my wife. She feels the same as many of you, that this lady could be dangerous to others. He has already emailed back. Apparently, new girl received a ban in early 2022 for aggressive behavior with another gym patron. This previous aggression was verbal. The gym owner has deactivated her key fob and placed her on a permaban. He has also called a few of the smaller gyms in the area to give them a heads up. Super cool dude. Thanks everybody for the thoughts and advice. I know I've let a bunch of you down by not pressing charges, etc., but I also know I have made many of you proud by completing my cardio after lifting tonight. Before I left for the gym tonight, my wife recommended a raincoat for protection. She's the best. That's all for now, unless the video surfaces. Cheers! Alright, so what do you guys think? Should OP have pressed charges or not? Let me know in the comment section, and also, if you do come across that video of a girl throwing a pink Yeti full of vodka on a guy's head, share the link with us, will ya? And now, let's finish this video with a quick mood booster post. This post is from the subreddit Malicious Compliance, and it's by user Mr. Wacko. No personal mobile phones at work. I, 33 male, work in IT cybersecurity, and my work has been on a big multi-factor authentication push to better secure our systems. The SMS codes from your phone or authenticator apps type thing. As a result, basically every system or software requires a phone to access it. Like many other places, my work does not supply phones to its workers unless they are sufficiently far up the leadership chain. Friday, my boss sends me one of those directives that management bosses always do, to try and be commanding. He tells me that personal devices used at work is not permitted, and specifically cites mobile phones as an example. Cue malicious compliance. To comply with the directive, I uninstall all my MFA code applications on my phone that are needed by work and submit tickets for getting the desktop versions. IT fulfillment response? What desktop version? Boss is backpedaling, but it couldn't matter at this point as the tokens for the MFA apps are gone. For extra irony, boss rushes approvals for software installs but gets stuck in the new software approval process he created. End result? I spent Friday browsing the internet while he runs around rushing software approvals for the MFA desktop apps we need. OP, this was so nice to hear. I love these types of stories where tiny-souled people with huge egos try to push people around with idiotic directives like this and end up shooting themselves in the foot. Oh well, I guess some people just don't understand that being a boss doesn't mean you're a leader. And that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch it. Now, if you've gotten to this point in the video, I assume that you like these stories that I'm reading out, so here are a couple more that you might enjoy. And if you don't have any time to watch another story right now, save it for later, and also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button.